I mean, many years ago, you could tap someone on the shoulder and there was no big deal, okay? Today, you do more than handshake somebody or look at them the wrong way and they consider it an assault or they consider it abuse. So I think our culture's changed a lot, and I'm not so much in support of it, but it is what it is. Just like after 9/11, our world changed. And I think we as people and individuals, we have a responsibility to be accountable for our actions. And I also see that when they say the frat thing, I believe that it's like, oh, you know what you said to this person, and it's like a team. So it's not just that they're going and making insinuendo or comments to the ladies, but I believe it's also like edging them on. You could do it, you could do it, you could do it. And I feel that's what it's like, and that's why I think they're calling it the frat boy culture, because if it was just one person or a couple people and they were doing it, we could just snip it in the bud and we could handle it. But this has gotten way too out of hand, Marcus. Hello, everyone. It's that time for the JMOR Tech Talk Show, where we answer questions about technology, explain the way they should work, and why they don't sometimes. And now here's your host, John C. Morley. Well, hey, everybody. It is John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur here, and you're tuned into the JMOR Tech Talk Show. It is always great to be here on another Friday, and this Friday is basically kind of the end of the month. We only have one more after the 20th. We just have today and next week, and we're in September, Marcus.
We're moving right into the fall. Some fall weather coming our way.
We definitely are. Welcome, Marcus. It's always great to be with you, my trusty co-host, with some great commentary and great information for our viewers.
It's good to be here, John.
So let's get right into things. So one thing that's been happening, and we've been talking a lot about this, is people's rights, right? Well, Activision Blizzard employees signed a petition denouncing the company's, and I quote, abhorrent response to a lawsuit. So this pressure comes on Activision Blizzard as they're mounting as more than 2,000 current and former employees signed a petition to slam what they see as the video game company's, what they call abhorrent and insulting response to the California lawsuit. So Activision Blizzard, the publisher, you may or may not know, of a hugely popular game known as Call of Duty. I'm sure you guys all know Call of Duty, or you have friends or family members that have played or are currently playing that incessantly. And also, I'm sure you know WWC, World of Warcraft, right? And they're headquartered in Santa Monica, California. They have approximately 9,500. Let me say that again. 9,500 employees. That's according to the state's filing as of just a few days ago. So a spokesperson from the company blasted the state's filing investigation, saying it's inaccurate, and distorted in a statement to CNN as, I quote, following the lawsuit, the company did not immediately respond to the request that was made this past Monday. So the company's statements in response to the lawsuit, and I quote, are abhorrent and insulting to all that we believe our company should stand for. The petition said, and I quote, to put it clearly and unequivocally, our values as employees are not accurately reflected in the words and actions of our leadership. The petition also cited internal statements by Francis Townsend, a former George W. Bush administration counterterrorism official, and Activision Blizzard's executive vice president of corporate affairs. Wow. So, but getting into what it really is about, this petition calls for official statements that recognize the seriousness of these allegations and demonstrate compassion for victims of harassment and assault. And for Townsend to resign her position as an executive sponsor of the company's employee women's network, I think that says something or is sending a message, Marcus. What do you think?
That's sending a big message. And you're doing this in a state that is known as the most woke state out of all the states in the United States. California is very known for its wokeism. And you're barking off the wrong branch here.
Now, in case you're wondering what tree that Marcus and I are climbing, we're talking specifically about employees that have known detailed experiences that are documented at Activision Blizzard on social media since the last week's lawsuit. And they accused the company of fostering, quote unquote, frat boy work culture. Now, what does that really mean? Well, it's where female employees have to continually fend off unwanted sexual comments and advances by their male coworkers. So it's a frat house 24/7.
Yeah, pretty much so.
And, they're complaining about what's going on. And, I mean, first they're stating that, the women are bringing it on themselves. I don't think they are. I mean, I think the question has to come into play. Are they dressing provocatively? It doesn't seem like they are. And, it sounds like the company is just not really responding to these requests. And they're trying to blow it off and say that, we're blowing it out of proportion, Marcus.
Yeah, and it's all a, misdirection, into, taking the time out to invest resources to actually investigate it and take some responsibility to, even the allegations coming out at all. So why even, push it aside and try to turn a blind eye? And you're a woman of all nerves to, sit up here and, turn a blind eye.
Well, for that lady to pull her support, I mean, obviously I know why she did it. The thing is this: when people act a certain way, I don't know if they don't understand. I like to say that when somebody gets past the age of 18, okay, they should have some brains. And it's important for people of all genders to think with their heads at all times. And I think sometimes they don't do that, and it gets them into trouble. And when that happens, they always want to blame the media. They always want to blame everybody. But really the person, Marcus, they should be blaming is themselves. I think this is whole exercise of accountability and how they're just annoyed because the media is calling them out. And one time, I don't agree with the media all the time. You know that. We don't always agree. I have to say, though, this time I believe the media is right. And I believe that these incidents that happened and they were documented, I think the company needs to go back and readapt the culture and also reprimand these people for what's gone on. And if they're not going to reprimand them, they at least, Marcus, need to write them up. Okay, don't fire them, but they need to write them up, and maybe they need to bring in somebody to do a sexual harassment training. I mean, many years ago, you could tap someone on the shoulder, and there was no big deal, okay? Today, you do more than handshake somebody or look at them the wrong way, and they consider it an assault, or they consider it abuse. So I think our culture's changed a lot, and I'm not so much in support of it, but it is what it is. Just like after 9/11, our world changed. And I think we as people and individuals, we have a responsibility to be accountable for our actions. And I also see that when they say the frat thing, I believe that it's like, what you said to this person, and it's like a teaming. So it's not just that that they're going and making insinuendo or comments to the ladies, but I believe it's also like edging them on, like, oh, come on, you could do it, you could do it, you could do it. And I feel that's what it's like, and that's why I think they're calling it the frat boy culture, because if it was just one person or a couple people and they were doing it, we could just snip it in the bud and we could handle it. But this has gotten way too out of hand, Marcus.
Yeah.
And I even believe that this is into management. And that's why there's so much pushback. Management is basically doing these things and being the frat for some of these younger guys that are there. That's what I think is happening. They want to be cool. They want to act well. They want to, yeah, we're going to get you that promotion. Don't worry. Yeah. What do you think about her? Yeah. They're trying to placate. And I think that happens so much, Marcus. We were having a talk about this on my LinkedIn just last night. And I was saying that in corporate culture, people play games. Mm-hmm. They play games, and then when you call them out on the carpet, oh, we never said that. We would never do that. Well, you're mistaken. Like, we would never do that. Oh. And then suddenly you're the bad guy. I think a message has to be sent from the top of the company. And I honestly think they got to hit them below the belt. They got to hit them with a large fine. And I think when that happens, or at least say, look, this is where you're at. We have proof of this. We're about to hit you with a large fine unless in 90 days we have proof that you're taking directions to remedy the situation. And we'll be monitoring you. And if we don't see it, we might just slap you with a, I don't know, a few $1 million fine, $5-10 million fine. And I think, to be honest with you, that if that doesn't do it, if they do this again, then I think it should be jail time. Because I don't want them to think that money can get them out of any mistake.
Oh, no, not at all.
You know, too many people think that. So we're going to have to follow that and see what's happening. I'm sure we'll have some juicy nuggets about what's going on. But there's going to be a lot of pushback. But this is different than the Facebook. It's different than the Instagram. And I think it's different because management is involved.
Right.
All the other times, it was just some interns, it was some workers, but it was isolated. So we'll just have to kind of see, you know, what's happening and what they're going to do and what this is all going to mean. But I feel that we've got to take some serious action, Marcus, and, you know, go after these people and send a message. Because if that lady's pulling out support, and they're losing money, they're losing sponsorships. You know what happens in the Olympics when somebody does something wrong. They suddenly pull out. There was one lady, not to get too off on a tangent, and she was leaving and she was getting ready to have a baby. And she wanted protection. I think it was Nike or one of those companies. I forget who. You probably remember. And she was good all these times. And she said, look, this is, I just don't want you to judge me for this year because I had a hard time with my kid and things going on. And she wrote the letter. And you know what they said? We can't protect you. But then, after she made the action, they protected her and other women athletes. It's just baloney. It is just baloney. Everything, unfortunately, is politics. It's not nice to say.
No, it's not. No.
But it's all politics, and it's all who you know. And this is why I'm not a big fan of large companies, because I just feel like there's just a clique. I feel like it's like grammar school or high school over again. If you're not in with the right crowd, well, then you got to work till 5. If you're with the in crowd, don't worry about it. You can work till 2 and just put down your left to 5. It's no big deal. I'm not going to say anything. And that's what happens, Marcus.
Yeah.
It becomes the in crowd, and then suddenly if you're not gawking over the person or, let's say, supporting their innuendos, oh, well, that's how you're going to be? Well, get out. You know, that's kind of the mentality, and that's where the frat mentality comes from.
Yes.
So we'll have to see what happens. In other news, one of our carriers did something that was not just a slap on the wrist. A major carrier, T-Mobile, actually confirmed just a few days ago that it was struck by a data breach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, T-Mobile actually confirmed this this past Monday and was hit by a data breach. But, of course, they declined to say whether any personal information from customers was accessed or how widespread the damage would be. So they acknowledge the breach after hackers told the vice president that they were selling full customer information. Of course they're in trouble. I mean, why would they admit this? They're going to damage the company's reputation.
Right.
They claimed that it pertained to over 100 million people they were going to sell information on.
Wow.
The company says, and I quote, they're aware of the claims made in an underground forum and actively, quote, investigating their validity. Come off it. If you're hacked, let's stop playing the game. If it's a duck, talks, acts, walks, and looks like a duck, it's probably a duck, Marcus.
More than likely. I've never seen nothing that, mocks a duck.
Yeah, it's a duck. So it's a hack.
Yeah.
And, when they talked about the vulnerability used by hackers to gain entry into the T-Mobile system, and I quote, it was the highest degree of urgency to investigate the breach. So it was funny that they said in the company that they had, let's say, closed a loop on the hackers. But this really wasn't true. And I quote, we have been working around the clock to investigate claims being made that T-Mobile data may have been illegally accessed. Get off of it. We know it was accessed. They just said they have all these records. Don't tell people it may. Don't lie to people.
Yeah, they're definitely telling us that it's raining when it's not.
That's like the lady from, what was it? We talked about this about a few weeks ago or a month ago. It was Great Adventure. Well, it didn't actually come off the track. The wheels from the back might have separated, but it did what it was supposed to, but it didn't come off the track. I mean, come off it. They're twisting the truth. And I quote, they also said, we have determined that unauthorized access to some T-Mobile data occurred. However, we've not determined that there is any personal customer data involved. Get lost. Get lost. It's like every time they open their mouth, they never say anything truthful. They might as well just keep it shut.
Yeah, I used to have a grandmother that said that you're lying and telling the truth at the same time.
They always said, when is a politician not telling the truth?
Yeah, I heard that one before too.
When he opens his mouth.
Yeah.
So T-Mobile is saying that, basically until they get their assessments completed, they're not going to confirm anything. They said that they're going to update their customers and their stakeholders once the investigation has been completed and they have true answers. I don't know, Marcus. I think this just seems like a jerk around, and that they really don't have an intention to be honest until they're going to have to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one thing. The report says that their stock fell 3%. I think if it falls any further, that's when they're going to make that decision then.
We talked about this before, Marcus. I always say companies cannot afford, the ones that say they can't afford to back up their data, they cannot afford to not back up their data. No, and, it's not just about their data, but I don't know if you know this, and we'll talk about this on another show. Ransomware is up. I do a whole show on that. Ransomware statistics and attacks are up. And the thing is, most people that get attacked are part of these big companies. Now, even if they have a small company, if they have assets in a multi-billion-dollar company, well, that company could get hacked. Because they're doing targeting, Marcus. They're doing, what I'm going to call spear phishing, where they're going directly for the big enchiladas. They don't want the guy making $1 million. They want the entire portfolio that has a $10 billion. It's interesting. And more on the hacker stories. The anonymous hacker stole $600 million in cryptocurrency. Right?
Wow.
Now here's the oxymoron, though. And then he gave it back.
Oh man. Is that just to kind of just demonstrate what they're capable of doing?
I don't know if it was more of a threat. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And a quote that was recently put on Twitter, Mr. White Hat, A term that refers to an ethical hacker who raises awareness of security flaws, has returned all the stolen funds, safe for a small percentage that had been frozen by the cryptocurrency issuer following the attack. Now, if you're doing something and you're a white hacker, because I've done white hacking before legally, you have to let certain people know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You know? You have to maybe let the media know, or somebody let you know that you're doing this. You don't tell them what company. Saying, "Hey, we're checking a certain company out." I don't really know if this person's doing what he says in honest intention. I think he didn't plan on giving the money back. I think he might have talked to his lawyers and realized that this could be a real problem for him. What do you think, Marcus?
Yeah, this is pretty widespread, and this is supposed to be a decentralized finance platform. And anytime you involve yourself in something this huge and you penetrate it, there's going to be some big boys coming to knock at your door.
Exactly. And I quote, he says, "I am not interested in money." He's full of bull.
Yeah.
Right? The co-founder of the forensics firm Epileptic Poly Network had offered a $500,000 bounty to the attacker. Although it appears the hacker acknowledged receiving a bounty offer, it was never accepted, according to the notes. I also don't believe that nonsense either.
Yeah, very, very much possible that he did go ahead and just bag that too.
I think he did that to put the fear in them. I really do.
Yeah.
But I also think he was out for the money. I think he realized that if he went through with this, Marcus, it could have been a real bad, not just day, but a very bad year for him.
Yeah, he would have been running for the rest of his life.
He'd have to go to another Well, the thing about, people don't realize about cryptocurrency is it's not really controlled yet. And there's so many places overseas and Canada. But all in all, people are going to have to be taxed on cryptocurrency. So there's a lot of outfits that are trying to create this anonymous cryptocurrency. But I got news for you. Someone's wrong with that cryptocurrency, you just lost your money. There's no FDIC insurance on it.
Yeah. Had that been taken for real, yeah, like you said, none of that would have been returned back, so there was no way that was going to be insured.
And I feel that he did this to catch certain people's eyes. I also believe the job offer, they didn't tell us this, but I think it was made. I just feel that his story about doing things for security is all bull. I think he wanted to come off as a good guy, all right? But then what I think happened is he had the intention to keep the money. And then somebody hired him. And the money was returned. But they don't tell us that part of the story, Marcus. We have to kind of interpolate that.
Right.
In other news, speaking about technology, a lot of the big boys in the tech companies are really starting to love the hybrid work environment. Some people are selling buildings and having people work from home and giving them a whole $100. Wow, don't spend it in one place, right? So they can outfit their place a little bit nicer. Or some companies I know have given as much as $500 to outfit themselves with a comfortable work pad. What are you going to do for $500? Not much. But it's more complicated than that, Marcus, because the small businesses are not really able to embrace this new way of life. Not because they don't want to, but because they don't have the money or the resources to handle this. Doing remote working is big money. Mm-hmm. And there's so much that had to be set up and created. so that people can build a new office culture without an office.
Right.
There are lots of companies out there, Marcus, forming. There's one company, I think they're in China, and they're renting buildings, Marcus, for more money, virtual buildings, for more money than the physical buildings cost.
Wow.
And they're putting so you have an architect, you have a virtual architect. So just like you would do something in a real building, you have an architect for your virtual building. This is nuts.
This is it's really crazy. What a different world we have.
And now when you get mail delivery, well, you can get mail delivery to your virtual office.
Mm-hmm.
You can mail to that physical address, which basically goes through the mail, but it's really just going to one building, but they have it all routed.
Right.
And then when the mail comes in, they scan it, and you have the mail in your mail room, in your virtual office.
Yeah.
As someone said, and I quote, "It has to be more intentional, especially when the teams are distributed. Those are things that most people are worried about and actively working on. Having teams or having Skype or Slack is great, but if you don't have the culture and the rules and checks and balances set up, you're just setting yourself up for failure." And I quote Mr. Zuckerberg, "It's not just companies and their founders. Some startup investors are also rethinking their long-held views on the right way to build new products." That's interesting.
That is.
So that means that a lot of companies that start up don't have to have a building?
Yeah, that's what it's turning into. And we know Mark Zuckerberg himself now, where it's more than half of the year now. There's his plans now to work more half a year remotely. So I think there's going to be a lot of startups adopting that that same mentality as it does come with some benefits to it.
But are people really going to get back to work, Marcus? Because I don't know about you in your area, but unemployment runs out for a lot in September.
Yeah.
Now, are they going to be stupid and reinstate unemployment, or are they going to tell people to get back to work?
That's the $1 million question. So,
I think we're gonna have to wait until whatever it is, September 5th or September 6th, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some places that have school elections. They want to delay them till April, Marcus.
Wow.
Claiming that they have too much on their plate. I think people are just making excuses, Marcus. They're intentionally procrastinating. We all know that schools didn't really teach much and kids didn't learn anything. This whole year coming into school is going to be called catch-up. I was talking to one owner of what do you call it, an after-school tutoring service as like a place where they come. And she agreed that they're not going to learn anything this year. They're just going to catch up. Mm-hmm. It's going to be an interesting year. And then with the COVID vaccines, number 3 coming out, they're saying, they keep changing it. They say if you have the Moderna, it was 6. I had the Pfizer, it's 12 from the second. Now they're changing it and saying 8 months. And they have something for the Johnson & Johnson. But they're also saying that they're not giving the shots out to the people that are healthy. You know what they're starting with? The people that have cancer.
Oh.
Because they're the most vulnerable. In fact, a couple people just the other day got their first their third COVID shot. But they're also stating, Marcus, that this COVID vaccine thing is going to become a yearly addendum.
Yeah.
And the country's just going to keep paying for this, which I think is insane.
Yeah, it is.
But they really don't have an answer. And speaking about things getting pushed around, Mark is actually pushing his offices to not open until January of 2022.
Yeah, and he's not being drove by what's since he's more drove on like what's been like the theme of like since this pandemic. It's just to he thinks it's the right move to keep everybody safe.
I quote something he said: "Data, not dates, is what drives our approach for returning to the office." I don't really know about that.
Yeah.
They're showing that COVID is rising in some areas based on the Delta variant, and teams in the U.S. they're saying will not be required to go back to the office until January 2022. What happens in January 2022? Do we say we're going to wait till February or March?
Yeah, I don't think that like there's going to be something special that happens, that can tip these numbers backwards.
Exactly, Marcus. And the interesting thing about this is that Facebook's decision comes just days after Amazon announced it would not bring its corporate workers back to the office until January 3rd, 2022. What's going on here? I don't think it has anything to do with dates or data, Marcus. I think it just has as a thing to be, let's follow the Joneses.
Yeah, that's what it really appears to be. And we know the those at the top, are a part of a little club, and and it's usually monkey see, monkey do.
Right. Well, speaking about the monkeys, we have another one that's going to be trying to be even better. They're not going to open till February. Lyft has delayed its reopening until February 2nd. And with them, Google and Uber and Microsoft have adopted a different approach to let's just wait and see, and we'll delay until we see its best.
So I'm just wondering, John, what type of customer service are we going to be really getting from out of these companies?
See, this is a big problem. I know, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but I know one of our clients that has a very large VIP office rental space in the United States. They recently outsourced one of their services. They were in Bangladesh. Now they sent them out to India. I went to one the other day, and we had to do an installation. And these people, you can't talk to them. You have to talk to a manager. They ask for your Skype information. They ping it to them. They then ping you, and then you chat via video chat. I'm sorry. I think we're going backwards here.
Yeah.
I am all for equal opportunity employment, and I'm all for letting people from different countries work. I don't have a total against about that, although we should be allowing people in the United States that can't afford to put food on the table to get a job first and get a decent pay. I have a problem with the fact that you get these people overseas and they suddenly want to gouge you because they know that's what the U.S. rate is paying. See, that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's not what they're getting paid. They're gouging people. And then I have another problem. It's called accountability. And you've probably seen this before. Mm-hmm. They fall off the earth, and then they give you excuses, and they don't do anything. We don't have that kind of a culture in the United States. Yeah. And I talk to these people. I say, if you acted like this, United States, you'd be fired or deported. We just don't tolerate that type of mentality or mindset. Right?
Right. And it's a shame that, it's not widely spread for that to be known. And people rather sit on their hands and, allow, some of the foolery to happen.
Exactly, Marcus. And the thing I have a problem with, and that is that people are looking for others to be sorry for themselves. Mm-hmm. Get off it. Like, do what you have to do. Don't look for people to be sorry for you or feel sorry for you. That's the biggest challenge, I think, with COVID. I know there have been challenges. I had somebody the other day I know that had gotten it, and I said, well, you can't come back to work. And he says, well, why not? He says, I didn't catch it. I wasn't around anybody. They weren't home yet. but they did get it. I said, that's too risky. That's too risky. Well, I can get tested and come in. No. No. And they're like, oh, okay, so how do I work? I'm like, I guess virtually? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just feel people's heads are in the gutters.
Right.
And they don't realize, Marcus, that what they're doing is affecting everyone else in the population. I'm going to go back to what I always say, WIIFM and WIIFY. They're all into WIIFM. What's in it for me? Instead of what's in it for you. They're selfish.
Yeah.
Right? How many people do you know in the world, besides your family and your friends, who do something great? And they're not cheering you on. I had a lady the other day, I'm not going to mention her name, I posted something. And it happened to be a company that ran this board on LinkedIn. And they run a local social media company here. I got a message from them privately saying, can you cool it?
What?
You got to stop monopolizing the board. I said, I post once a day. I post valuable content to help people improve their lives. Yeah, just don't monopolize the board so much. And what I've come to the conclusion is it's not about monopolizing the board. It's about the fact that you're making them look bad.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It sounds very, very explicit.
Yeah, and I said to you this once before, and I'll say it again. There are 3 stages to success. Step 1, nobody knows you, nobody cares about you, nobody really gives a darn. Step 2, people start hating you. People start criticizing you. People start trying to block you. I had a lady in my own town that was on a board, and the administrator said to me, she says, I don't have your tax records. What does that mean? Well, we haven't validated your ownership in our town. And, you're here more as a guest right now because we never really got your proof that you live here.
Wow.
And I just opened my mouth, and I'm like, I won't say anything bad, but you have some nerve, I'm saying to myself. I'm a first responder, I do all stuff, and I said, can I ask why you'd even ask something so stupid? She's like, well, we got a question from a member. One of your 1,900 people that stuck far. And I have a problem with that, and I've been seeing more of it, Marcus, where these people are trying to rain on other people's parades. And the message I tell people is that if you're not harming somebody and you're providing value to the world and somebody tells you to stop, don't. I had the same thing happen to Rutgers. I have over 5,000 or 10,000 people on their board. One of their students came back and says, you're posting an awful lot. Once a day with things that can grow your life, come off it.
Yeah.
So that I've been noticing that a lot around COVID time.
Terrible excuses for why they can remain complacent and then just expect you to slow down, so that they can just continue to be complacent.
That's exactly my point. And I had a question the other night, and the question was, I think it was a few nights ago, and it was, why is it other people are not happy and celebrate your joys, victories, and triumphs? And I know the reason is because they're jealous, they're envious. Because they don't like the fact that you're getting ahead, because they don't like the fact that you're getting exposure. That's what it comes down to. But it's sad that we have people like that do that. Did I lose you, Marcus? Oh, there you are. Okay. So another point, speaking on other things that are in the news, we learned a little about Facebook, but we haven't talked a lot about our friend, Mr. Good Jeff Bezos. Well, he's doing something a little bit interesting. Get this, Marcus. He's suing NASA.
Oh man, that's a little bit different. That's very different. We haven't heard about any lawsuits to NASA.
So he filed a sealed complaint, which means they can't disclose what it's totally about. It challenges NASA's unlawful and improper evaluation of proposals in selecting Elon Musk's SpaceX to build the spacecraft that will land the next American on the moon, according to a federal court filing. This is just bull.
Yeah, it sounds like billionaire problems to me. So, it's like fighting over, the toy,
It's absolutely crazy. Yeah. Companies with billions of dollars never cease to amaze lots of people with the tactics and all their childhood games or below-the-belt business practices to force NASA to do business with Blue Ocean after tactical complaints. Would anybody even want to work with Blue Ocean?
Yeah, I don't think they would want to work with Blue Origin after this, after seeing something like this. You say, okay, well, if he's not going to get his way, he's just going to try to force our hand, force and bombard his way into getting what he wants.
But then people will always know him as the guy that used his power and money to basically force a hand. I'm starting to have a lot of disrespect for this man. I never really had a lot. I never was in love with the guy, but I'm really starting to have a bad taste in my mouth for this Jeff guy. I mean, we've all been upset with Amazon and how they provide the highest level of customer service, which is a real untruth. But the way he's acting and what he's doing just makes me not even want to have a respect or any regard for this man. I used to think he was up to something good, and people were knocking Elon, but I have to tell you something. Elon really doesn't get in any pissing contests with people. He kind of stays to himself for the most part. I mean, everybody has their moments, but he really tries to just do his thing, and he really doesn't try to go raining on anybody's parade. He might build something, but he's not a guy, I think, that would actually try to sue NASA if he didn't get his space shuttle built. I just don't think he would do that. This guy, Jeff, I feel that I wouldn't be a bit surprised if maybe the federal court bars him from even bidding anymore.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Seems like that could be coming down a turnpike, if he doesn't be careful here, because, why would you do this? It's just, if they say no, it's just no.
He's trying to force the hand and say, hey, I'm the bigger man, and I'm getting what I want because I have money. Well, so does Elon.
Yeah.
Instead of it being a value proposition to help people, Marcus, it's becoming a power trip. You remember when you were in grammar school or high school, well, mostly in grammar school, and you'd either be a team captain yourself, or sometimes you weren't lucky enough to be picked as a team captain by your gym instructor. But a lot of times you did get picked, but not all the time were you actually the one. And you sat there and you waited for people to pick you, and maybe you weren't as athletic as some of the other people, and you didn't get picked. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, okay, and you can just go on such and such team. Oh. And it was like you got picked by default. I don't know if there's anything worse than that.
Yeah, no one really likes that. And I think this is what happened in the case of Blue Origin when they first started building their project. Because like they won the first commercial to do it. First commercial space aircraft to do it.
So winning by default, being chosen by default is not great. And it also gets me to think of something on a relationship level. If you're dating somebody, and let's just say, for example, now this other person comes along, and let's say that something goes sour in this relationship. Well, that person wins by default. It's not great for that person to know that they were a rebound. Like, oh, I'll settle for you. I mean, that just really, and some guys are stupid enough to say that, well, I'll settle for you since there's nobody else right now. What does that mean? You're going to dump the person once you find somebody better? I mean, like, right? So I have a problem with that, and I think Mr. Jeff needs to grow up. I think he needs to realize that what he's doing is not really what he's setting out to do. I think the reason he's doing this space thing is not because he wants to do something better for the country. I think it's about money, and I think it's about him getting in the limelight to be first. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And
money's important, but I think it's about being first, and money's probably second.
Yeah, so it's definitely an ego trip, and like you said, it's pretty disgusting.
It is, and to see what's going to happen, we'll see what happens with the court. And the thing about this is that as we talk about this whole thing, it goes back and forth. It just shows you the type of character that's in this person, Jeff. I didn't really know him very well in the beginning, but the way he built Amazon, I mean, I know he built $1 billion company, but I have to say, Marcus, it's got the lowest level of customer service in the industry.
And not just that, just the way they treat their employees. They can definitely treat their employees a lot more better.
They treat their employees very bad, and then, when they make mistakes and you talk to somebody and you have the same problems going on. Like I told you what happened. I had a drone delivered to me, and it got stolen. Oh. Well, what do we do? Well, we can't help because it was a third-party ship. What does that mean to me? Well, we have to do an investigation. I had to file a complaint with Better Business Bureau, Consumer Affairs, and District Attorney General's office, send it to them, and they magically told me you didn't have to do that. We were already in the process of your refund. Get lost. Oh, they're all about politics. Yeah. I remember one time opening a fulfillment account with them, which I'd never do again. And I wasn't even using the account, and I was getting billed, and it took me almost 6 months to cancel it.
Yeah, they're very notorious. You will remove a credit card, thinking the credit card is removed off the account, and it magically pops up. It's like, how did you remember my credit card number?
Well, that's what I say. And then when you call the number, and it's like, well, we don't have an account for it. But here's my card number. Well, we need to know what email and what account. Well, I deleted that. Well, we can't help you. Yeah, but you're charging me. Well, we don't know which department. Well, who? So finally, I had to go to Federal Trade Commission, DOBRA, Department of Banking and Insurance Commission. And they got to the bottom. But, Marcus, a lot of people, even though they're bright, they don't know the pathways to take. They don't know what to do. Yeah. It's very interesting. And speaking about things that are sad, CBS, Central Broadcasting Station, they sell an iconic Manhattan building. They put on the market the iconic building, Black Rock, Manhattan headquarters of CBS. They plan to sell it to the Harbor Group International for $760 million. The sale is supposed to transpire by the end of this year. The move is to shed assets to free up the company's finances in order to focus more on things like streaming, according to many of the key spokespeople. And this one gentleman here, Mr. J. Bobbin, and I quote him, he says, "I can't deny that seeing this hits me in the heart. I've made a lot of visits to that legendary building over the years. Admittedly, it's not going anywhere. Good luck to the crew that would tackle that job. But some of its storied history changes with this." So the building's not being taken down. And I have to admit, they might take the name CBS off the building.
Yeah, I think that's going to definitely go with it. I don't, but it would definitely be quite cultured if they kept it on there. But I don't see them keeping it on there. And
I think it would preserve some of the heritage of it.
Right.
If they did.
It would. It definitely would.
But these real estate companies, they're really not out to make people feel good.
No, they're not.
They're just out for the money.
Yeah, they're not in the feel-good business.
But something like that, and I don't know if the Rainbow Room is next, because I think, isn't that in the same building? I'm not sure if that's going to... Yeah, so I wonder if that restaurant will close.
That's an interesting question.
But people don't realize when you do something, and I know people do things for a profit. I get it. We all try to be profitable. I just feel that when you do something, you have to have an understanding. For example, if you're a realtor and you're buying a building, and you're buying, let's say, this nursing home, for example, and you buy it because you want to knock it down and you want to build, skyscraper condos. And when you knock the people out of that building that are paying the price there, where are all those people going to go? Hundreds of people. Now, you're going to get millions of dollars. But what about all those people that you knocked out of their homes? You're not going to relocate them. It's like, sorry. And what about all the people that work in that building? I just feel that when people make decisions, again, they're thinking with the wrong head. They're thinking with their head in the top, but they're thinking in a logical perspective. Now, I don't say logic is wrong in business because you have to think logically, but I believe, Marcus, sometimes you need to have a heart. Now, I know you can't do that every day. I know many years talking to creditors many years ago, and I'd always get them, and I was very good. I was like, so I understand. So I was like, so what challenges are you having in your life? Well, man, so you're fine. You're clear of any problems. Oh, your daughter. Oh, how's your daughter doing? Oh, your daughter broke her leg. Oh, that's sorry to hear that. That must be a really tough thing on your family. And I know you're working here because you're getting the money. So I know you don't agree with the company's philosophies, and it must be hard trying to keep, your daughter and your wife and everyone happy when it's very hard. And this was years and years ago.
Right.
And the guy was just like, he was almost in tears on the phone. And so I guess everything's about money, isn't it? I guess sometimes having that extra $50 or that $100, I know you would give anything that you had to make your daughter walk again, wouldn't you? And sometimes I think we take that out on other people, and that's not a good thing to do. No, and I'm not saying you're doing that, but I don't want you to have a vengeance for me. You don't know me. And I've had an excellent track record in the past. And it's the first time I've ever asked your company for anything due to a catastrophe that happened in my life where no fault of my own, an accident, where I had a skiing accident. No fault of my own. And put him on hold. It came back to the phone. And he goes, Mr. Morley, he says, you touched me. I said, oh, I'm sorry. He said, no, it's okay. He says, I don't get calls like this that often. He says, usually I just tell them that we can't go there. I said, well, then what made you allow me to go there with you? Well, you made it personal about my family. Normally, when somebody asks for something, they talk about their life and what's going on in my... See, that's not important to you. That's not going to make your heart bleed. When I talk about your daughter, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, that's going to make you really come to the table. And I said, what can we do? And he says, well, we can give you a 6-month extension so I could pay that payment of 9 or whatever it was. And so I feel sometimes there are some companies, whether it be credit card, whether it be real, they're just very stark. And I'm not going to mention the name of a company, but there's one company where he threw everybody out of a building because they couldn't pay during COVID. And he went to sue every single one of them. And he threatened them so much that they just gave them all they had. They paid it, and he threw them out.
Wow. Because
the cost of the courts were going to be so much more that they scraped bottom just to be able to pay to the end of the year, and he kicked them out. And as long as they paid to the end of the year, he wasn't going to sue them for any more. But that's terrible, Marcus, when people don't have a heart, you know? And I know in business you can't always think with your heart. You can't. You have to think logically. However, when you're doing something that's going to affect a large amount of people, I think you have to ask yourself, am I doing the right thing? Why am I doing this? Is it going to be... I have a phrase I think I've shared with you, and it's a mantra that I repeat and I've shared with people, and it's large sums of money come to me easily and quickly in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a continuous basis for the good of all that I get to keep. That last part is extremely important. For the good of all that I get to keep. That means you're not stealing. You're not doing something that's going to ruin someone else's life. You're getting money, and it's for the good of all, and you get to keep it. I think too many, very powerful. Too many times people do things just because of the greed of money. And the Latin phrase, radis malorum est cupiditas, which has gotten a lot of people to focus away from money. Now, money's not a bad thing, and money's not greed. It's how you choose to use your money. You can have millions of dollars, just like we can have a program, we can have a podcast. It's not the podcast technology that's good or bad. It's not the money that's good or bad. It's how you're choosing to use that money. You use that money to help your friends, your family. You help yourself. You treat yourself. You reward yourself. You have great things in life. That's fine. You're entitled to all that abundance. But if you have that money to burn somebody or to buy vengeance on someone, that's wrong. And that's where it's greed. And when you do that, and I'm not going to get into religion here, but that's when you put your possessions above religious things. I happen to be Roman Catholic, not to get into that, but in my case, I put it above the Lord. And so if you believe in your creator, if you put it above your creator, that's when it comes back to bite you. People always say, well, you can't have anything, you have to have nothing. No, they're not saying you can't have nothing. They want you to be wealthy. Right. But they want you to use your gifts and use them in a good manner that are going to help others. And that people are going to want to pay you. That's what it comes down to. And when a lot of people see this money and they see a way to get it, they don't think about the people they're going to knock over. Now, I'm not saying you can't be competitive in your life. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you need to realize that whatever you do in life has to be good and good for all. And when you do that, money just seems to multiply. It's about having a mindset. And the last thing I'm going to leave on this, because it's important, is that abundance doesn't come from outside of you. Abundance comes from within. So be grateful for everything you have right now, whether it's a penny, whether it's $1, whether it's a pen, whether it's an iPhone, whether it's a glass of water. Be grateful for every little thing you have. And for when you're grateful for everything, more things will start showing up in your life. When you focus on what you have and you're grateful for it, you put that energy out into the world. When we focus on abundance, more abundance comes to us. And you might say, wait, John, how can I be abundant? I don't have a job, my this, my that, I'm in a divorce. I hear you, okay? And many people were in a situation just like you. And what you have to realize is that this is just today. You're here because of the thoughts you had yesterday and the days before. Start changing your mindset so that from here, tomorrow and the days forward, you'll be able to look back and see that where you've become is because of the new thoughts you put into your brain. But you have to start from that whole point. And if you don't have money to be abundant about, well, be abundant about things in your universe. I tell people to take the letters of the alphabet and think of everything you could be abundant about. A, I'm not going to go through every letter. Air. B, birds. C, cars. Just be thankful for things around. People are like, well, John, that's nuts. No, that's being abundant. The greatest thing I tell people to do is go to a field and see everything in that field that's abundant. Because realize you are abundant. Think abundantly and more abundance will show up in your life.
I love that, John. Like, that's well said, well put, and that really, helps take people to the next level.
I think so as well, and we're at the top of our hour, and it is always great to be with you, and we had a great show, and I want to encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, if you have an idea for a JMOR Tech Talk show, visit JMOR.com, and if you have an idea for an unboxing, let us know what the product is. You'll have to donate to us and send it to us, and we'll be happy to take care of that for you. If you do decide to be a guest, it's not a selling show, it's educational. I also want to invite you to show some love to all of our channels, which you can find at jmor.com under social. And what I say to people is our videos are free, okay? But if you feel like you just want to say thank you, my team and I are so grateful for every penny and every dollar we receive. We have a PayPal link below every video because we want to continue to give back to our great world. But we can only do this when we impact great people's lives like yourself. It has been another amazing evening, Marcus, to be with you.
Same here, John.
And we will be here next week. And remember, my friends, the abundance lies within you. For if you're trying to pull abundance from the outside world, you'll never find it. It'll just slip right through your fingers. You're already abundant, my friends. Start being grateful for that abundance, and more of it will show up. Focus on lack, and you'll get more lack in your life. And that's a promise. I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, and you've been watching the JMOR Tech Talk show, and unfortunately, we have to say goodbye. I wish we could stay all night. Have yourself a great one, and remember to catch our audio show tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We'll get to catch some great information. We'll see you next week, everyone. Have yourself a great rest of the night. Thank you for tuning in to the JMOR Weekly Technology Show, where we answer your questions about how technology is supposed to work and sometimes why you have challenges getting it to work that way. For more IT support and tips, just text IT support to 888-111. That's IT support to 888-111, and you'll get tips on technology. I'll see you next week right here on the JMOR Tech Talk Show. Remember, JMOR.com.